Black people cannot swim. They cannot float. Their bones are too dense. How many times have you heard these things? I grew up with the Western misconception that people from African and Caribbean communities couldn't swim. And with time, I developed the desire of finding out the reason behind this, or if it was true that members from those communities couldn't swim. Is it about cultural attitude, financial or personal barriers? To answer to all my questions, I started off my journey at the Manchester Aquatic Centre, where Jamaican swimmer Jessica Calderbank explained how she reacted to comments about not looking like a typical swimmer.
There have been points where I've thought, should I continue, or should I do something more that I suit, like athletics? I've definitely thought about it when I was in high school and primary school, that maybe I should do athletics because I've got a stature for athletics and I'm mixed race, and there's a lot of successful people that look like me in athletics. But I realised that I love swimming much more. It's just, there's a lot more variation to it. There's all the different strokes you can train in so many different ways. And that's the reason I wanted to continue with swimming, really, because I loved it and not because anyone said, you know, you shouldn't do it because of the way you look, or you might fit this sport fit this sport better.
Swimming against stereotypes isn't just about staying in the pool, it's also about staying strong mentally. For some, their strength comes from support systems that truly understand them. But when it doesn't reflect their background, even that support can feel distant and become a barrier to continue to swim or learn how to swim.
Even mentality as well. So I've spoke to a few different sports psychologists over the years to help with my performance. Most of them have been white male. I found my best connection with someone that's a black female athlete, and I think, you know, if you can find a connection with a sports psychologist that you can relate to, you're going to have way better results. Again, that's another reason potentially that they're not finding practitioners that they can relate to or connect with, because they're so different and they may not understand.
A recent Swim England report revealed a stark disparity in swimming abilities across the ethnic communities in England. While only 14% of white individuals struggle to swim 25 meters, this figure rises to a concerning 49% in ethnic diverse communities. What is driving this gap? I travelled back to Manchester to speak with Matt Turner from the City of Manchester Aquatic Club to learn more about the support provided to the different communities with opportunities to participate in aquatic activities.
We have a number of different clubs within the club, squads within the club that pay specific rates. Manchester residents have a specific rate that they pay within the club, which is less than what non-Mancunian residents will pay. And the thought and the reason behind that is just to give as many people opportunity as possible.
Swimming is unlike any other sport. It is not just about talent, it's about access, consistency and time. Yet, for so many kids, those early lessons in primary school are brief and easily forgotten. Without regular practice, the skill fades. In this country surrounded by water, the question remains, is it done enough to keep children safe, confident and capable in water?
If there were more programmes, it would definitely help. When you go to primary school, I think from what my experience was, I did it for about 3 to 4 weeks during primary school and that is it, and then you're done. So unless you do invest and your parents or guardians take you to swimming lessons, you can't continue that skill. I think swimming's a lot different to other sports in that you can only develop the skill with repetition. It takes weekly lessons to eventually get it, and even then I used to be a swimming teacher. It takes children a long time before they can get to a competent standard of swimming. So the only way you can learn that skill is if you continue to have lessons on a regular basis. So yeah, if there was more programmes, you know, free of charge for people to take their children to learn how to swim, then it would improve the numbers. But I think the current thing that's in place with having only a few weeks in primary school, it's not as effective as it could be.
For some, swimming is a natural part of childhood. For others, is a space where they rarely see themselves reflected. Across both sides of the Atlantic, Black Swimming Association co-founder Saren Jones reveals an uncomfortable truth. Representation in the pool is still lacking. But beyond competition, there is something even more urgent: safety. According to the latest National Water Safety Forum's Water Incident Database, there were 236 accidental water-related fatalities in the UK. This is about more than sport. It's about education and access. They aren't just important, they are life-saving.
I swam in the UK when I was quite young, from the age of 8 to 18 competitively. And then I swam in the US from the ages of 18 to 21, 22. And something that I really couldn't seem to run away from, regardless of what side of the Atlantic I was on, was that there was such little representation in swimming when it came to Black swimmers. It didn't have an impact on me, but it did make me realize that what I was doing and what I had committed to, the sport of swimming, wasn't normal for someone who looked like me. I think children learning how to swim and children, what we say at the BSA, being water safe, being safe in water, having water safety education is just as important as any of those subjects you learn in school. Because like you said, it is a life skill that will literally save your life.
The Black Swimming Association, launched in 2020, is a UK non-profit dedicated to promoting water safety and drowning prevention among African, Caribbean and Asian communities. Through education, advocacy and research, they aim to make aquatics more accessible and inclusive. Their programs are designed to empower underrepresented communities through aquatic education.
We've got our water safety programs, which are specifically for adults. And we also go into secondary schools to speak to children there about water safety. And we go to secondary schools because we know the data. We know that around 400 people on average die every year in this country due to drowning. We know that 80% of those people are boys. And we know that a very, very high percentage of those boys are aged between 15 and 19.
A statistic shared by a recent Swim England report shows that 95% of Black adults and 80% of children do not swim, and only 2% of regular swimmers are Black. I asked myself if one of the reasons behind those numbers was a generational trauma passed down from grandparents to parents and from parents to children. For many communities, generational barriers, fear, and long-standing stereotypes have stood in the way of access and inclusion. Team GB first Black female swimmer and co-founder of the BSA, Alice Deering, helped me understand how the BSA mission is challenging myth, inspiring confidence, and creating space for everyone in the water.
Because it's really about the fact that a grandparent never learned how to swim or had a terrible experience around water, and then to keep their child safe, they don't put their children into swimming because that's the best way to keep them safe, is to not let them go anywhere near water. And then because those parents never learned how to swim, they think, oh, well, I've been fine, I don't need to take my kids how to swim. And it really does knock on so quickly. The whole point is to raise awareness around the issues that Black and Asian people face when getting in the water, and debunk stereotypes and myths, and really just kind of spread a positive message that you can learn how to swim no matter your race or your background, or whether you have a disability or not. Like, it is a sport and an activity for everyone, but most importantly, it is a life skill that we all should have access to be able to learn how to do. There are so many Black and Asian people out there who really think that they do not have the capability of learning how to swim. And it's dangerous and it's scary, to be quite honest. We really want to combat those ideas and just get everybody into swimming.
Have you ever thought about how our wrong perception weighs on others and how this can be a barrier for them? I spoke to Cynthia J., a late learner and only Black swimmer at her swimming pool. The visibility carries weight, people staring, assuming that she can swim. She's not a strong swimmer yet, but she's trying. It is not just about technique, but it's about pushing past the stereotypes, fear, and the quiet judgment. It's also battling with an inner pressure because before they even touch the water, members from underrepresented communities already swim against so much.
So I've started going to the swimming pool at my workplace, and so when I go in, I'm always the only black person there. And that kind of makes me a little bit conscious, because the one thing I feel that is also heavy is because other people will look and go, oh, I've not seen a black person in the swimming pool before. And then also, this person doesn't look like they can swim. So part of me is like, not only am I a representative because I'm the only black person regularly here, but also, am I adding to the stereotype of, oh, that black person can't swim? You know what I mean? Because I'm not a super strong swimmer, but I want to be. People, you know, from those backgrounds might have a bit more resistance, might need a bit more time, might need a bit more talking through and talking to, because sometimes I've done a few lessons before, and sometimes I just think patience isn't there as much, and it's like you've got to understand that I've got a lot in my mind that I'm like, I love doing this thing, I want to do it, but then I've got in the back of my mind of like, oh, don't go in water, it's careful, you could die, you could drown, kind of thing. But I'm trying to push past that, and I'm like, oh, why am I finding it so hard? Is it because that stereotype where maybe my bones are heavier, maybe, you know what I mean? So there's so much that goes into people's minds before they've even entered the water.
At the beginning of my journey, I was convinced that this lack was only related to swimming at an elite level, but I discovered the water may still not feel welcoming even for people that just want to learn this life-saving skill. A 12-minute documentary, it is probably not enough to uncover all of the cultural beliefs, stereotypes and fears that have kept the ethnic minority groups underrepresented in the swimming world. There are economic, social, cultural reasons and accessibility issues that we might not fully understand, but we must change our mentality to help build a bridge for inclusion and participation for people from other communities.